Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Discworld Noir. So, I'm going to be honest as I always am. I had a bit of a hunch, but I couldn't be bothered to have to deal with a stupid library if it wasn't a correct hunch. But yep, I have to come back to the Library of Doom where nothing ever works. So, yes. And other than that, I didn't look at anything else. I just double checked that I would actually have to come here to look up Nephrohimhotep, whatever his name is, the god that they're trying to summon, which I think will then give me the information I need to use that map accordingly. Let's go. I might also look up that picture, the symbol, if I can. Let's see if I can, even though, I mean, I want to spend as little time here as I possibly can, but... I found this obscure star-like symbol in the Necrotilopminicon discussed for us students. It is called... what? It called it the sign of the eel, or the Elver sign. It was apparently a protective ward against some of the elder, darker gods of the Discworld. The tome also explained how to inscribe one, the order of tracing being very important. Not that I believed any of this mumbo-jumbo, but hey, you can't afford to be too careful, right? Okay, so there we go, that actually didn't take that many resets to get that information. And then we gained a note, so that's good. Let's save before we do Nephro plop plop plop. Also, I've done a bit of a naughty and I looked slightly lower down and realised that I actually missed an item in the theatre. So after that, I'm gonna go pick that up, and then I need to bring that back here for more library fun. So I'll do that after that. Anyway, Nephro flip flow. Time to do.
The Necrotelecomnicon
Was a book that legend spoke of, saying that any mortal who read it would be driven insane. I learnt about it from a copy of Necroticlomonica discussed for students with practical experiments that I found in the library.
In this
tome, there is a description of the old dark gods of the Disc, including the terrible leathering horror Nephlon-Thetep.
Apparently, Nylon-Ethertep was
once summoned by a series of 8 murders forming a perfect octagram focused at the centre of the Circle C, thus releasing it from the sunken city of Leshp, where he was trapped along with drunken Ithulbopalulu. The book speculated about the whereabouts of Nephrohimhotep now, but beyond him being safely imprisoned somewhere around the Circle C, it drew no conclusions. Okay, so that's done now as well, even though that took so long. I think that probably took about 15 to 20 minutes to actually get that whole bit recorded, because every time you read it takes more than 3 seconds, it just times out and you can't move forward. Then, like, the second bit of dialogue, even though I must have been on it for a millisecond before I was clicking off to the next bit, it was just freezing there. So I'm a bit annoyed now, but oh well, it's not like I have a life to do things with. Anyway, let's go get this thing from the theatre, then right back on down to the other place. I need to find a fly. Oh, that huge thing there. How did I miss that? Let's have a look at it.
I'd picked up the theatre flyer from the Disc Theatre. It told me about the plays in the Disc's current season.
Oh. Well, great. What was that it said? Something popped up. I don't know. How strange. Anyway, let's go. It might have just been the fly. I was still kind of active. Anyway, back to the library to do the flyer. And only, like, the last of my hair to pull out doing this. Hopefully we never have to come back here afterwards. I'll be very happy if we don't. But we probably will, because this game hates me. Let's get him over here so he's right in front of it. Because that way, when I have to load 10,000 times, at least I don't have to walk him all the way over here as well. Oh dear. Okay. No, you. Inventory.
The 8 plays
Oh.
in sequence were the Happy Prince of Copperhaven, and Tillage and Cresselik, and Titus Diplodocus. The flyer didn't tell me anything about them, though.
Anyway, I want to take that and put it on the thing. Okay, here we go.
I looked up Hwel in the library and found his complete works. In there was a discussion of the 8 great tragedies, Hwel's bloodiest works. From the About the Author paragraph, I learnt that Hwel was a dwarf who was banished from his tribe not only because of his claustrophobia, but because of his tendency to daydream. Both undesirable, to say the least, if you work in a mine. 102, and in the prime of his life for a dwarf, Hwel now worked for Vitteler's Plays at the Disc Theater as one of the premier playwrights of the day. The 8 great tragedies were given in great detail. 8 plays, each with a collection of murders, usually with one more particularly gruesome or grotesque than the others, presumably for use in publicity trailers. The publicity trailers helped draw people into the theater by being towed around town to display posters. There was something suspiciously familiar about some of those murders.
Oh my god. Like, that wasn't even a... There was no loading there. He just carried on talking. The library is finally defeated by Luton's ability to read. I'm so proud of him. Anyway, now let's actually start the timer, which I set for only 17 minutes, because I assume it will take about 3 minutes to do all that stuff. Anyway, let's go back to the place where we were before. It's called Sanctuary, and it's full of horses. He really took a dash for that last bit. Okay, so what do we want to say to this? We want to probably put... let's see what we got. So we got the 8 great tragedies. You're making it sound like a Greek tragedy. Octagram of murders. That's probably what we want.
The murders were marking out a perfect octagram, just like the one that had been used to free Nylanathatep from sunken Lesh centuries ago. If I was right, there would be 2 more murders, one in Dagon Street and one in the Wizard's Pleasance. If I knew which one was next, I could stake it out. In the center of the octagram was the Disc Theater, which almost certainly meant some kind of cosmic evil was entombed there. I can't say I was enthusiastic at the thought of checking it out.
Oh, creepy music. Well, there we go. We got the Disc Theater again, just in case we didn't remember where it was. Oh, shut up, you tit was. Go away. There we go. Okay, get out of there. So now we have so much... Oh, that's Dagon Street. We have so much information about what's going on. So that's good. Let's go talk to Pippin over here, and then we'll be cruising down the road.
Mind if I ask some more questions?
It is neither here nor there.
Thank you.
What would you say if I told you I suspected people are being murdered to summon a terrible entity to destroy?
Wait, no, we've had that conversation before. I know what I need to talk to him about. I need to talk to him about the 8 great tragedies.
Tell me about the 8 great tragedies. And don't make me regret asking you about this.
The 8 great tragedies are considered to be among the finest of Hwel's plays, each one a poignant drama with an insight into the mortal condition.
That's all you have to say?
I could tell you much more.
Such as?
I could tell of the soul-searching anguish of Village in The Happy Prince of Copperhaven, as he struggles to decide whether to avenge the death of his father, whilst in the meantime inadvertently stabbing and poisoning the entire cast in oh so many humorous misunderstandings.
No, that's fine.
Oh, in the dead vast middle of the night, he cries. Oh, that my lover's father had not hidden behind that tapestry whilst I was practicing with my poignard.
That's enough.
And the famous soliloquy, to be or not to be. Oh, what's the point? Nobody's listening. Or perhaps I could tell of the tempestuous love of Antilogy for Cleopatra, queen of the Jelly Baby.
Stop it!
Perhaps the unspeakable acts of Titus Diplodocus. If one good deed in all my life I did, I do repent it from my very soul. That's all, folks.
All right. Enough.
Our revels now are ended.
Stop! I knew I shouldn't have asked.
Okay. So, because I felt like that wasn't going anywhere, I was just checking the guide at the same time. And apparently if we talk about specific murders, he will tell us stuff.
Being murdered recently.
But of course. One was slain in this very theatre only days ago.
Really?
At the climax of Kensington, the merchant is strangled by his very wife. It was very dramatic.
The murder was in the play?
I would not take such pleasure in a real murder, my boy.
To mourn a mischief that is past and gone is the next way to draw new mischief on. Couldn't you just say, bad things cause other bad things?
One must embrace the beauty of language.
Well, ease up on the hug, Privetier. I think the language needs to breathe a little. There was a murder up in the rooftops recently. A troll named Malachite was stabbed to death. Did you hear about that?
I know naught of stabbings, save the foul betrayal in The Tyrant.
The Tyrant? A play?
We performed it but recently. Ah, the grandeur of the stage. Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war.
The Dogs of War?
In the play, the tyrant leads an army of dogs into battle, but they kept slipping all over the place because of the general muddiness.
Does he win?
Well, in the end, he's betrayed by his closest ally and stabbed to death by the people of Ephebi.
Doesn't sound like much of a victory.
No, but it's a glorious death. Et tu, Cletus. Pure poetry.
And yet again, I've seen more than I meant to see, so I know that we can actually change into a wolf here because we're hidden by the stage.
I quickly transformed into a wolf and had a sniff around. There was an eerie, dark magenta scent in the theater. But what caught my attention was the magenta scent that seemed to disappear into the stage. My murderer had been here. I ran my finger around the marks casually. There was something about them that made you want to trace things on them, like a smiley face or a tic-tac-toe board. Well, something like that. Maybe something a little more sinister.
And we know that we have an image that we could trace. Oh, we got that other thing now as well. Cool.
I traced the sign of the eel across the marks, exactly as I'd learned how to do in the Libraris Apocrypha. There was a faint click, and the next thing I knew, there was a passageway under the stage.
Awesome, now we're under the stage. Fantastic. This is scary now.
passageway led into a dark and ominous vault. The whole sepulchral temple seemed to be formed from curves and angles that would give geometry teachers nightmares.
Let's save it. I don't trust this area. Feel like I remember it being a bomb face in the past. I love how all of my saves are of the libraries.
The map of the Circle C seemed to be the only interesting feature of the altar. The centerpiece to this disturbing chamber was a stone altar engraved with a map of the Circle C. It looked centuries old, the kind of altar that could tell a few tales if it could talk. I was glad it couldn't.
I guess use a symbol on it. But I mean, that's kind of obvious. That's what it is, right?
Using the map, I worked out where each of the 8 great tragedies had taken place. They made an octagram around the edge, just like the counterweight killings did in Ankh-Morpork. I could match each of the tragedies to one of the murders, and the positions corresponded precisely. I knew that someone was going to get dragged to death from the Wizard's Pleasance, and that some unlucky fellow was going to get eaten in Dagon Street.
Okay. But do I know what order they're going to happen in now?
Using the map, I worked out where each of the 8 great tragedies had taken place. They made an octagram around the edge, just like... I could match each of the tragedies to one of the murders. I knew that someone was going to get
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna... Shut up. I'm just going to, go to the place that I am, like, 99% sure is where the first of the 2 murders happens, and just hope that that's enough to make it happen, because I don't know how to work it out otherwise. I'm pretty sure Dagon Street is where the next murder is. So let's go there.
The moon over Dagon Street lit the rundown alley. It didn't look like anyone was around. It was as abandoned as the Octarine Parrot on open stage night. I couldn't pull the boards off with my hands.
Really, I think I should probably click on it and be like, might be something going on in there, just rather than attacking it with a crowbar, but... oh well.
Amongst the debris, I found a bone that seemed a little out of place. I knew there was something familiar about the bone. It was a human femur. Just like in Titus Diplodocus, someone had been dismembered and eaten. That meant there was only the Wizard's Pleasance to go, and the octagram would be complete.
Anything else going on in here? I might not feel like going straight to saving the world. Let's go look at some pots.
Lucius may not have gone down well on stage, but given that all that was left of him was his discarded femur, he must have gone down very well here.
So he's the guy that didn't turn up to the play. So we know why he didn't turn up now, he was eaten. Let's get out of here and go to the Wizard's Pleasance. Which is that place? Yep. Stuff's happening now, at least.
The Wizard's Pleasance was a small, newt-haunted meadow in a horseshoe bend in the Ankh, inside the grounds of the Unseen University, separated from it but connected to the university gardens by the Bridge of Sighs. On summer evenings, if the wind is blowing towards the river, it is a nice area for a stroll.
That was like a reference to the Bridge of Sighs, which is like sighs as in, I think, which is in, oh no, there's a dog, which is in Cambridge University. It might not be size like that, it's some kind of size, but I don't think it's size as in size, weight, size, like height, size,
I wasn't
whatever.
an expert on dogs, but I thought that this black, thoroughbred dog was a Clachian hound, also known as the Kelef Clachani. Small, proud, and ruthless, the Kelef Clachani were prized by dog breeders throughout the Circle Sea. What this one was doing out on the streets was anyone's guess. I thought about petting the dog, but there was something about the way he looked that made me think twice, maybe even 3 times about it.
Turn into a wolf and talk to it?
I didn't want to
Oh, I suppose not. Gonna go hide in the bushes. Look at him go. Oh, how could anyone spot
I
him
didn't know
now?
how long I'd have to wait until something happened, but it turned out to be less than I thought.
Oh.
I'd suspected I'd been being followed, and I wasn't surprised to find that Al Kali was skulking around behind me. Gods alone knows how he got into the university, but if I could do it, I guess anyone could. It was over in seconds.
Uh-oh.
I was about to follow the killer's trail when I saw a familiar face.
Why
Oh, there
did
we
you
go.
carry on with the case, Luton?
Too many people told me to stop.
I was hoping it wouldn't come to this.
I like you, Luton.
It didn't have to be this way.
So you're behind this, are you?
I'm just a servant. My master, Anu, is behind this.
That beast is Mooncalf's god?
Mooncalf didn't start this cult. I did. When the last human worshippers of Anu had passed on, leaving only an empty temple in their wake, the cult lived on among the lycanthropes. My late husband got me involved, and I came back to Ankh-Morpork to arrange everything.
Came back?
I thought you'd realize, Luton. I'm Therma.
It figures.
Oh, that was good timing.
You killed Malachite, didn't you?
I didn't kill any of them. My master did that. We just arranged everything for him. He's stronger when we gather together and pray.
You were in the Temple of Small Gods each time there was a murder.
It was a perfect alibi.
Why was Malachite looking for you?
I'm his sister.
His sister? Hands up who can spot the big problem here.
I was adopted by Mr. and Mrs. Karst. They named me Therma. And Malachite and I grew up together.
What happened?
It's a tough life when you're a poor troll, and tougher still when you weren't born a troll.
I used to sit at the table eating bread, while the rest of the family was chewing cold sandwiches. That kind of thing leaves its mark on a girl.
My heart bleeds for you.
Malachite and I broke into the von Uberwald mansion and made off with some of the Count's valuables, including that pendant you've been carrying around.
And that jeweled box in the carriage that presumably held the asp that poisoned Reagan.
That's right.
How did you and Malachite get separated?
He got caught, but he didn't tell the watch about me. I thought I'd seen the last of him. I sold most of what I got, and I was living off it comfortably. But I'd seen that painting in the hallway, and it got me thinking.
The painting that looks like you?
Exactly. I reinvented myself as a debutante, and I seduced Ulrich and married into high society. I went back to Uberwald with him, changed my name to Carlotta, and my life as a troll was forgotten. Therma was dead. Long live Carlotta von Uberwald.
Did you know Ulrich was a werewolf?
Not until the honeymoon. That was a surprise, I can tell you. Not entirely an unpleasant one, I have to say.
How did you get involved in this cult business?
Before he died, Ulrich inducted me into the worship of Anu Anu, and it became my mission to engineer his return to power. I recruited followers and we prayed to him, gradually awakening his consciousness. He'd been stuck in the form of a small dog on the streets of Al-Khali for decades, not even remembering who he was. As our numbers grew, Anu Anu's power grew, and eventually he was able to slip aboard a ship and steal his way here to Ankh-Morpork.
The Milka.
That's right. The Milka also stopped off at Sort, where it picked up Mundi. He was supposed to be bringing us the Sortese Fallschirm, having stolen it from a dig at Sorta. The archaeologists didn't even know it was there. Unfortunately, what we hadn't counted on was that Mundi was a man with few scruples and even less brains to go with it. Either he approached Horst, or Horst approached him. One way or another, he arranged to sell the sword to that devious troll.
Only he didn't have the sword, did he? He'd concealed it in one of the crates in the cargo hold.
We didn't know that. We just knew that Mundi had gone to ground. That's why I hired you to find him.
And when I did, your cult killed him. Only you'd expected the sword to be with him. And by the time he was dead, it was too late to ask him where he put it.
We couldn't believe our luck when you found the sword for us after Mundi's death. I'm sorry that my master had to stab you to get it.
Did you know I was going to get killed? Was that why you made me into a werewolf?
I suspected that things would get a little rough for you, and I believed you were too valuable an asset to waste.
I'm flattered. And the counterweight killings were your cult attempting to summon Nyarlathotep by mimicking the way he was summoned before. I don't get it.
With the Fallschirm, my master can defeat the laddering horror again, and he will grow in power, ascending to the ranks of the most powerful gods, where he belongs.
That's all very well, but a lot of people died for that dream. You can't just go around killing people whenever the notion strikes you. It's not polite.
What are the lives of a few people against the prize?
Reagan knew, didn't he? Or at least suspected.
I don't know what he actually knew, but he suspected a lot. He'd been blackmailing me for weeks.
Oh,
He had to go.
Why are you telling me
that's
all
what the
this?
envelope was.
It's customary for the villain to explain his evil schemes when the hero is captured.
I'm no hero, and you're no villain either. We're just people.
You know it's not too late, Luton. Join us.
Join your cult. What happens if I refuse?
There's no point in refusing. It's already too late to stop the summoning of Nyarlathotep. Al-Khali was the 8th murder. Even now, the other cultists are gathering at the focal point for the invocation.
That would be the temple under the Disc Theater, I take it.
You're good. I'll give you that. Let's go, or we'll miss the pre-summoning.
What if I try to stop you?
Like I said, it's already too late for that. Join us, Luton. You know it's the only choice.
I could kill you and make a run for it.
You wouldn't hurt me, would you, Luton? After all we've been through.
You arranged the murder of your own brother, and you'd have me killed too if I got in the way.
So what? In this world, you get one chance at happiness.
You may be right. All right. I'll go along with this for now. But I'm not making any promises for the future.
That's good enough for me.
Hopefully I can save, because we need to stop.
Carlotta
Oh,
told
God.
me she would have to bind me in case I got any foolish ideas, and then she escorted me into the depths of the temple. It looked like the whole crowd was there. As well as Carlotta, I recognized Mooncalf and Warb, the wizard from Saturnalia. 8 of them in all. 1 for each person on the list. But my attention was drawn to the hulking mass of Anu Anu, and the golden sword that he was wielding like it was a toothpick.
It begins.
Take your places, people. Everyone remember your lines.
Nylonefatep. Who summoned thee? In accordance with the ancient pacts, we have made 8 sacrifices in the manner prescribed. Come to us.
I was filled with an overwhelming sensation of dread. I guess summoning rituals have that effect on me.
It is here. Now I command you, by the power of the Fashion, to bend to my will. Bend to my will, I command thee. I hold the Fashion. You will obey me.
I got the impression that that wasn't supposed to happen. The next thing I knew, the temple was coming apart at the seams, and rocks were falling everywhere.
He did. Anything happening? Well, okay, that seems to have broken. But, on the upside, good cliffhanger for next week. So we are going to leave it there at the black screen of death. I will get us back to that same point for next week, and we will move on from there. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed what you saw. Sorry it went on for a bit long. But yeah, like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and see you next week. Bye-bye.